Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Finally.
The Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast.
Who's come back? Give me a hell yeah.
Welcome everybody to the Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. I, as always, am your host, Andy Burrows, and I'm joined by two co-hosts today. As always, my good friend and tag team partner, Mr. Adam Cousins. Adam, what's up? It's been 24 hours since I've seen you. You good?
Yeah. Just still getting over Melina's interview and happy WrestleMania Eve. I know we're segueing into AEW, but it is the eve of WrestleMania, so happy WrestleMania Eve.
We are segue. We're nearly at WrestleMania, but we are here to talk all things AEW, and we have another co-host, the man that runs our YouTube channel. We can't let him do all the work and not get him on, I suppose. Munzi, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
Good to have you on, mate. Good to have you on. And we have a very special guest from the pro wrestling world, all things knowledgeable about AEW, Mr. Daniel Burke. How are you, sir?
Very good, guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you so much for joining us. On a Friday, we like to sit down and talk some AEW. Daniel, before we get into looking back at this past Wednesday's Dynamite, how do you feel AEW is performing right now? Me and Adam touched on it last week on the show. You know, there's been pigs and troughs recently. They've had a little bit of a dip. I've said the last 3 weeks that I've been, and even including this week, which we'll get onto, I've been quite impressed with AEW. They've been picking up now. I know the ratings weren't great, which I know Adam's going to touch on in a little bit, but where are you with AEW right now?
Well, Adam Cole coming back, I think, is huge. Because I think that the way he's positioned right now, they've really lacked in baby faces, and I feel like that right now with Adam Cole coming back, you put him the baby face slot, you know, that's going to be able to get you some momentum. The ratings were a little concerning for his quarter hour, but we'll talk about that later. But at the same time, I think with that going on, the CM Punk stuff is kind of now going to start to hurt them, because that I was fully expecting him to make a comeback for them. I was fully expecting them to reconcile with that situation, but I don't know with the recent events if things are going to be able to be repaired and mended. Daniel Bryan coming back and turning as a heel is not really surprising, just because of the fact that, like, I think he's definitely someone that kind of needed a change in his character a little bit, I think, in AEW. But I think some of the changes they're making are very positive. I also think that Tony's going to his old bag of tricks with already announcing that he is going to have a major announcement on the next show.
That better be the UK shows, by the way. They better be announcing a UK pay-per-view next week.
Well, hopefully for you guys, because I think, you know, there are some markets that they're running that, you know, they're not essentially drawing well. But I think if they go to the UK, you guys are literally just going to make them, like, they're going to have some of their best shows, I think, live-wise, in the UK area, without question.
Yeah, no, the UK market, we said this, the UK market, like Canada, WWE recently been there, that crowd there, Boston as well. I mean, there's all different kind of areas where you go, where you know the crowds are hot, and London is definitely going to be one of them. Let's get into Dynamite. Adam, Munzi, Daniel, kicked off with Jungle Boy versus Matt Hardy. I think recently AEW have been starting their shows really well. Adam, what did you make of the opening to AEW? We talked about how impressed we were with it last week. Obviously, the main talking point of this match, it was a good match. Jungle Boy. It's always good when you get to see Matt Hardy wrestle. I think, you know, the fact that he's still wrestling after, you know, that guy's literally put himself through hell in his career. Obviously, MJF, who wasn't advertised, so they've done that really well. Obviously, they didn't advertise MJF in the lead up to AEW Dynamite this past week, comes out, cuts a hell of a promo. Him and Jungle Boy cut a hell of a promo at the start of Dynamite. Adam, what did you make of it? I thought it was a really good start to the show.
Yeah, solid. It made a change not seeing Orange Cassidy. I think about every week for the last month he's kicked off the show, which is good because the crowd love him, and I think you have to start with a really big crowd favorite. So Jungle Boy made a lot of sense. Crowd get into it, sing this song, do the little finger point, and Matt Hardy coming out, everyone chanting delete. So in terms of the two people that are in there, it was a good way to start it. Match was solid. Good
Hook
surprise
coming out, I suppose.
Yeah, good surprise with MJF. I'm guessing they're going with the Four Pillars match at
Double
is
or
it
Nothing.
Double or Nothing?
Double or Nothing in May. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same night as NXT.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah. Shawn Michaels was talking about that earlier. Yeah. Yeah. So good, solid start, good, solid opening, and it kind of set the tone for the show, really.
Yeah, no, it was a solid. Munzie, what did you think, mate? Obviously, anytime MJF is on the microphone, we've said this recently, his mic skills seem to be outdoing his. He has some really good wrestling matches, to be fair to MJF. I mean, he's been getting a lot of stick recently and a lot of criticism on social media. I mean, what did you make of? Obviously, it's always good to see Matt Hardy, but what did you make of MJF coming out and obviously Hook's in kind of involvement as well?
Yeah, well, MJF he does it all the time. He's he's MJF all the time. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah, MJF. I can't remember what CM on, but he's MJF. He's all MJF all day long, 24/7, and that's probably how even Jungle Boy said he wants to be as good on the mic as him. Just with the match, I just don't know what they're going to do with All Ego Ethan Page. I thought he was really good in Impact, and he's just don't seem to know what he's been doing. He went to AEW and thought, wow, he's going to be. I mean, they put him with Scorpio Sky, towards the end, and then they just don't seem to know what to do with him. But Jungle Boy's starting to get over now. Now. After that really good match he had beating Luchasaurus in the cage, I thought it was really good. Pushed him higher up. But MJF, until MJF leaves, I don't think there's going to be anyone bigger in AEW.
No. Yeah, no, you're right. I mean,
sorry, Andy. Sorry, mate. I think a point to add to that is there's quite a few guys in AEW. You could argue even places like Sean Spears is another one. He's got everything. He's got everything, but he's just, he's at the pinnacle. He's all of that, but they've just, I don't know. There's a lot of good talent there that they just, I think, need to know what to do with.
I think
that's why Rampage needs to be put Rampage on for 2 hours, though. Daniel, I don't know what you think, mate. If you move Rampage to 2 hours, you've got a lot of. They seem to have a big talent pool in AEW, and they're not quite sure what to do.
I don't know why they don't do like WWE.
Yeah,
Raw and SmackDown and have a brand split.
Yeah, but Daniel, what do you think, mate? I mean, first of all, you're a big MJF guy. Do you think he could be the quote-unquote new CM Punk and carry the company? And what would you do with the extra talent they got? Is it a case of making Rampage a better product? I'm not comparing it to SmackDown, but it's something they could look at doing.
Well, first, yes, I do like MJF a lot. I think he is great. He's one of the better heels in pro wrestling today. My only problem that I have with MJF is the fact that I feel like that there really hasn't been much evolution in his character since day one. It's like the moment that he walked in, that's the MJF you're seeing now. And, it hasn't really we know the twists and stuff that he's pulled off in the past. He's done it. There's been some repetitive storytelling on certain parts. Brian Danielson had to go through the same type of road that Wardlow had to go through to get him.
And Jericho. Daniel?
Yeah, and Jericho. It's just, and that, I mean, I understand that it's considered a trope in pro wrestling where it's been around for years where they do that. The problem is that, it does show though, when you have 3 top angles with the guy, that's kind of the same road that they went down. You also have to take in effect that supposedly, and I don't know if this is just him booking and things of that nature, if he's the one guy running it, usually you're only good good for about 3 years before you really suffer burnout. And he's on year 4. And you start to wonder when that is starting to catch up to him. Plus his other entities, he's other positions and, with the Jaguars and, also the football club in England, I think, Fulham, correct?
Yeah, Fulham.
Yes. Yeah. And so you're starting to spread yourself a little thin there. So him having more television time, and now also with his purchase of Ring of Honor, there's only so much, I think, talent, number one, that he can have and kind of take on his payroll, because they're a private company, so you don't know how much that, they might be breaking $1 million gates, they might be breaking in better TV numbers, better TV, their next rights deal, they really think they're going to be able to go over the top. But you wonder how much that they've fed in and how much that they've actually spent, and making it more difficult for them to also have more TV time and more production costs and things of that nature. Plus, TNT, I supposedly they're going to maybe do a 6:05 Saturday show.
Okay.
Like that has been kind of kicked around. I've heard that rumor lately.
That's probably the breaking big announcement on Wednesday.
That could be it. That could be very well it. But also, I think they should go to the UK because I think that they would have some really tremendous shows out there without question.
Who do you, just briefly, obviously MJF is kind of in this thing now with Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, and
Sammy Guevara.
Yeah, Sammy Guevara. I mean, realistically, none of them are going to be AEW champion. If you had to move on, if MJF got injured, knock on wood that he doesn't, if MJF got injured tomorrow, because right now I'm struggling to see who would be the progression on to like be the next champion. Because everyone, if you look around it, everyone's involved in kind of faction
yes
at the minute and faction storylines. I mean, if you were booking it, Daniel, who would you, like we always talk about long-term booking here, where would you go from MJF? Or is it a case of, not saying he's going to do like a Roman Reigns, but he could be champion for another 12 months maybe?
Right. Well, Adam Cole has just come back, so making him automatically be world champion would be a little, it would be a little difficult. I think you'd still need to he needs about a good 3 or 4 months before I can sit there and say, okay, just because the fact that, the delicacy of his injuries, you have to make sure that he's good for a few months to get him out there and make sure that there's not going to be any issues. Because then putting the belt on him and then having to take it off due to injury, that kind of snake bites the title for a little bit. You're kind of spread thin right now, considering the fact that you got the faction wars kind of going on right now. So that takes out 4 of your potential world champions right there. If I had to guess right now, because I think he has been booked incredibly hot, probably Ricky Starks.
Right.
That might be it might be a reach.
Good show.
But it might be a reach, but I think at the same time, I think the way that Ricky has been performing, the high class feuds that they put him against with like Chris Jericho and he just came out of the Jericho feud. So yeah, I would put it on Ricky without question.
No, I agree with that. I love Ricky Starks. I mean, he's a big friend of Cody Rhodes as well. So don't be surprised one day when his contract's up if he jumps ships as well.
I
know, man. The Don Callis thing, Munzie, let's come to you, my man. Obviously, he was doing the backstage segment with Kenny Omega, and he legitimately didn't mean to get busted open. I was reading about this today. Yeah, he was meant to be involved in the Kenny Omega match outside at ringside, and obviously the Blackpool Combat Club come up, and Moxley he fell into like a piece of equipment that AEW had backstage. I mean, what do you make of what's going on with the whole Don Callis and Kenny Omega little bit right now that they're doing? I mean, I quite like Don Callis. I think he plays a good role, man. I mean, he was good in wrestling. What do you make of what's going on right
He's similar to like what Paul Heyman used to be, isn't he? He's a bit, nasty sort of thing, like Paul Heyman used to be, not now, but I do enjoy it. I think he's trying to get Kenny Omega to turn away from the Young Bucks and the Hangman Page. But you never know. You never know. Jay White might turn up and they might try and be a Bullet Club again. Do you know what I mean? That's what's been touted about a lot. But I did see that afterwards that Don Callis did actually hurt his head. I like the Bullet Club. Sorry. How they are now.
He's back. There he is.
He's back.
Sorry. Yeah.
No,
I do like how Blackpool Combat Club are at the moment, going all heelish. But I don't know how long it's gonna last, but yeah.
Yeah, you can really kind of see where they're going with the Blackpool Combat Club and the match that's probably going to happen at Double or Nothing. Adam, the Dalton Castle and the boys, the Blackpool Combat Club, kind of had a match. It lasted 2 minutes, if that. The Blackpool, I can see what they're doing. I mean, it'd be interesting to get your guys' views. I can see why they're trying to build up the Blackpool Combat Club. If you look at every company, WWE, WCW, they always need that big faction, DX, NWO. You know what I mean? That kind of, obviously I'm not comparing them to that, but I can kind of see why they're, and now, like Daniel said, bringing back Daniel Bryanson this week on AEW was a great move. I mean, it looked like he was helping Hangman. It looked like that he was helping Kenny Omega, pulls him up, kicks him in the face, and we're away to the races. I mean, do you like what they're doing with the Blackpool Combat Club at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit difficult to see what else they could do with them when you look at who they got in the faction itself. Moxley's a smash mouth. Cesaro is probably one of the greatest wrestlers. I still don't know why the hell he's not. I know he's a Ring of Honor champ, but why the hell he's not won more titles, or what Vince didn't see in the guy. I know probably the promo thing, but
really, Yuta as well. Yuta is
amazing. Yuta is ridiculous.
In-ring talent is incredible. You watch
Jim Cornette don't think so, does he? He calls him Wheeler useless.
Yeah.
Well, we have to, listen. Uncle Jim likes his old style wrestling. There's nothing wrong with it. Everyone's got their. I don't. There's few things that I probably don't like. That I don't particularly like a lot of the high spots or the, I've mentioned it before when I don't like a lot of big spots in the games, and I think in the matches, and that's why the Vikino one it was a fantastic match, but I just think they could have trimmed it back a bit. But anyway, going back to Combat Club, I mean, I just think the guys in it. When you look at a faction, you think, okay, Smash Mouth faction. You look at those 3 or 4 guys in it, and you just think that's just made for them.
Yeah, no, I like what they're doing. It's all leading up to Double or Nothing. Obviously, you know what I mean. They need to push that a bit, but Daniel, Kenny Omega versus Cobb for the IWGP Championship. AEW get a lot of. This is where they get a lot of shit because there are a lot of fans of like the IWGP. What now? I mean, if you watch AEW every week, I've recently got back into AEW. I'm really enjoying it. But they built this match on a promo that was cut on the 1st of January. Daniel, just before we get into, I mean, any match that I get to watch Kenny Omega in, I'm all for. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. What do you make of the titles? Me and Adam kind of got into this last week, and at this time of year, the casual fan is watching a lot of wrestling. So AEW probably have got a lot of eyes on them. The ratings might not say as much, but there probably are wrestling fans that are probably like, look, let me dip into AEW for a little bit. Kenny Omega is the IWGP champion. What do you make of how they segue these different titles in to AEW? Because some of them are defended on New Japan. This match against Cobb was built on a promo cut on the 1st of January. Is this where AEW kind of let themselves down a little bit? Because it's all, well, that's in January and this is this title. And, like I said to Adam last week on our show, it's like they've got a jigsaw puzzle, threw it up in the air and gone, right, this piece goes here, but this piece might not go here. How do you see it all fitting as a big AEW guy?
I think that the biggest problem sometimes is that he the creative, because I don't know if it's Tony by himself, I don't want to throw him completely under the bus. But sometimes I think creative, they just sit there and they just say, what match do I want to see this week? And you can't always book like that. There has to be a story, sometimes this person has to be, it can't be dream matches every week. You have to have a story. And also at the same time, too, you can't chastise a casual audience for not knowing what's going on. If they don't want to watch New Japan, they have no idea who the IWGP champion is, whether it's the world title, the US title, or, I don't think they have the Intercontinental anymore. But exactly. So it's just, if the casual wrestling audience this week, especially, they're going to watch wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that having an IWGP championship match on your television program when it's not your actual title, it kind of, you sit there a little bit and you're just like,
he seems to be doing that in Ring of Honor as well, doesn't he? He's got a AAA title on Ring of Honor now. Right. That's going to happen tomorrow or something. So he's doing the same with that.
Yeah, I just think it's the only thing for me. And me and Adam said this last week. It's the only kind of thing for me. And if you want to attract new eyes and new audiences to AEW, for me, don't get me wrong, it's good. Like things like Forbidden Door, I think are great, and it's good that you're segueing into other. But like you said, Daniel, and it's such a great point that you make. Build some stories, so we know, right, this is this week. It's going somewhere. Don't just Tony Khan just go, oh, I like the look of this match. Let's book it.
Right.
You know, no storyline. Let's just book it.
It's just you got to save some big matches for people to pay for.
Mm.
You know, and
that's what we said last week, wasn't it, Adam?
Yeah, it's just you have to be able to do that. You can't, you know, and I applaud him at times for the way he books him. Just like, but at the same time, it's like you can't speedball everything.
Mm.
You can't. Everything can't just be like blown out the gate every single week. You can't do that. You know, you can't hit a home run every single time you're at the plate. Like you can't do it. And he's got to have some weeks where it's like ease the gas up a little bit. You know, like it might not be a 10 this week, but it could be a 7 or an 8. And you might deal with a little flack online, but you got to ease the gas up a little bit. And plus, I think that's going to hurt the talent overall too, because there's a reason why there's a high injury rate with that company, because these guys are taking way too many risks on free TV.
Yeah, and I know they're doing house shows as well. They're doing a lot of house shows now. And I've seen some of the footage from them, and you're like looking at it thinking, again, Daniel, great point. You're looking at it thinking, guys, this is a house show. Don't get me wrong, you want to entertain the audience that are there, but wow, you know, you could be risking a lot of injury.
Is that now an expectation, though? Do you think now?
What, of AEW?
Yeah, so that you know, people that are going to go to these house shows, they see who's on the. I mean, Sammy Guevara said he's not going to do a house show because he doesn't want to do a moonsault not on TV or things like that. So, but is that going to be now what? So, for example, if when we go to, we're going to go AEW. Let's face it, we're going to get there. But are we going to be expecting too much because of what
we see
already?
Dynamite? Yeah,
I just hope they don't go like WCW did, like trying to do all that main event stuff on like Monday nights and not
Monday nights,
on a pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? Because it seems to me they're going that way, and you know what
the thing is as well. I mean, Daniel, we made this point last week. You've got to want to make me buy this pay-per-view. So it's on for us. It's on Fight TV over here. It's £20, about $25. You've got to want to make me. At the end of that month, you're going to go, right, I want to buy this pay-per-view because I want to see. But if you're giving it to me every week on Dynamite, pretty much, I'm like, well, you know, I don't really need to. Do I want to pay £25 this one? I can just wait for Dynamite and you'll probably do a rematch or something like that. I mean, in your opinion, Daniel, is that the only kind of thing that's letting aid? Because they've got it. It's there. It's literally just putting it all together.
Well, I mean, I remember the first MJF and CM Punk match they did on free TV. I was like, why are you doing that? Because you have to, people want to pay to see it. And it's like, well, we're going to do the dog collar match on pay-per-view. That you do rematches on TV. Rematches are fine on TV. I tell people that all the time. Do rematches on TV. But having the first time ever match on TV, that's when you have problems, because then you have nowhere to go for the pay-per-view, and they did that again with Jon Moxley and CM Punk like 10 days before All Out.
Put it on, they put it on Dynamite, didn't they?
They're doing it with FTR next week, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the Guns versus FTR next week. I mean, I don't know if that's a whole because of FTR's quote unquote contract is up, and you know, and that's literally good segue, Munzie. I like it, mate. We were literally going to the Guns and FTR on Dynamite next week. I mean, Daniel, do you think that FTR stay in AEW, or because if they are, then they have to win the belts next week again? They have to win the belts on TV next week, and they haven't saved this for Double or Nothing. That and it's kind of a double-edged question. Do AEW maybe need more pay-per-views?
Well, with Ring of Honor, I think that they're starting to increase on pay-per-views. I think what AEW desperately needs is some sort of streaming service. They need to get in line with some streaming service. Like the fact that they haven't been able to get a deal locked in with HBO Max, to me, is very telling of the relationship between Warner Brothers and AEW, just because of the fact of that You're paying these guys every single week. Just give them a little bit more money and be able to get them on a streaming platform of a built-in audience. But then they're probably questioning, well, how many actual more people are going to pay? You might get another 150 to 200,000, 250,000. It might not be WWE who had over 1 million subscribers for the original network before they went over to Peacock. But it might be significantly still enough where you're making, an extra $2 or $3 million a year annually. And it's really not costing you much in the end because it's content you're already paying for. And at the same time, people are paying the premium price for the pay-per-view. Like, it should be a no-brainer on why that hasn't been done. But I think that if they go to a streaming service, then yeah, I would increase it. But I think also what's hurting them and what's going to hurt them in the pay-per-view business is the fact of that with certain current events, an economic crisis could be rapidly approaching. And that could affect them in the bottom line as well. I hate to be the downer, but also I hate to be the downer of that and bring in, this guy's bringing in geopolitics into a podcast. But I think when you're talking sometimes about economics in pro wrestling, you also have to think about what is maybe facing households. They might not have the ability to supply a $50 a month pay-per-view. So he might have to stay to quarterly for a while. And that also means that you're going to give away a lot of stuff on free TV, but you have to be selective. And I think that you have to look at it of, if this guy is here at this position and this guy's here at this position, I'm not having them face off until we go to the pay-per-view. You have to have that untouchable jar, that security blanket that you can't break that glass until you absolutely need to. I think with injuries, he's had to worry about it. I don't know what FTR's situation is. I don't know if they've re-signed. I don't know if they're going to lose the match and just go strictly to Ring of Honor. Because you could find that little loophole and say, well, we're not going to wrestle in AEW anymore, but we can go to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, I don't know. I said that about, a lot of people said that about CM Punk. I mean, again, me and Adam touched it last week. It's in that little tiny studio in Florida. I'm not sure if I can see FTR. I think they want to, if they do go, I hope they don't. I think they win next week. I mean, Adam, I'm going to ask you in a sec, because I know you listened to the FTR podcast already today. I'm probably going to jump on and listen to it after this show that we've just recorded. Did FTR give anything away today, Adam? Because like Daniel said, that is a loophole. They could go to Ring of Honor, but I don't know if you guys, I watch it most weeks now, and it's in that studio in Florida where Impact Wrestling needs to be recorded. It's in front of about maybe 200, 250 people, if you're lucky. Don't get me wrong, I think it'll be good for maybe AEW to build up that little bit of Ring of Honor, because it's Ring of Honor. It's got a storied history. We all know what Ring of Honor is. If you can get an FTR and a CM Punk in there at some stage, that's going to raise the levels. But, I mean, Adam, did FTR give anything away today in their podcast?
Well, they hinted at a couple of things that they had. They brought Cash Wheeler out probably halfway through, and they were taking fan questions, and one of them was basically dream matches, and they said Edge and Christian. And then, as they said Edge and Christian, Cash Wheeler was raising his eyebrows constantly, as if to say, well, And then the other thing they said was, if you pick two singles you could work against, who would it be? And they said Moxley and Danielson. They said they've been trying to push for that a lot as well. Do I think that do you know what? I think this is going to be match placement will dictate whether that result is going to be. I think if it's on early, they're staying. And I think if it's main event,
it's got to be the main event.
Well, then that throws up the equation. They could be going, because if they win it, they go off with confetti. If they lose it, they do a send-off. So I think it needs to be main event just to throw that.
Could you imagine lose on Wednesday on Dynamite, turn up on SmackDown on Friday?
I can't see him going to Ring of Honor. No way.
Where do you think they go, Munzie? WWE?
I think if they leave, they're going WWE.
I think they're going to do independent run for a year.
Yeah, they could do that.
Daniel, where do you think they're going? Everyone's interested. We've got three different. I think WWE. Adam thinks independent. Munzie thinks
WWE.
Yeah, Munzie thinks WWE. Daniel, what do you think? Or do they win and stay in AEW?
I think when they started dropping all those tag titles in succession, I was just like, I think that I'm 75% sure they're going back to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
There's still that 25% that says they're probably going to stay in AEW. I think Road Dogg has kind of hurt WWE's chances of getting him as well with some of his comments. And Shawn Michaels. But I don't know. I think that they are probably going to get thrown life-changing money.
Yeah, true.
If they have that understandment that Vince is no longer in creative.
Yeah, did you see the look at the news coming out today. Vince is definitely in creative, I think.
Yeah, but
gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
I hope they stay in AEW because I think the product suffers if they're not there.
I agree. I
agree.
Stay at ECW or stay at ECW, stay at AEW or go independent for a year, and then we can get them on the podcast.
If they do leave AEW, what's going to happen to? Because the tag division in AEW ain't that strong as it used to be, is it?
Tag division everywhere is not strong at the
moment.
But
I do like the Guns, but
I'm a big Scissor Me Daddy fan.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. Just finishing. Obviously we had the Butcher versus Orange Cassidy. The Blade come out, and it was a solid match. I mean, Daniel, obviously I know you're the AEW guy. I mean, we mentioned at the start of the show about MJF maybe needing a change in AEW. Orange Cassidy. Gimmick still good, or gimmick needs to change? Because when it first started, we were all like, this is really cool. Now, again, me and Adam mentioned it last week, it's okay now. Does Orange Cassidy maybe need to somehow switch it up? And it's maybe something AEW need to do.
Turn heel. That'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, that could work of him turning heel, but I also think him turning heel, he would completely have to change his whole work rate and stuff of that nature. Just because of the fact that then he would have to show some viciousness instead of, the lazy kicks and things of that nature. He's kind of in a position of, it's almost like the Sandman in ECW, where it's like, he's always going to get a decent pop. He's always going to get a good reaction. And he really doesn't have to do to change like his gimmick at all. I understand.
If he's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, he's one of those guys you don't really have to change anything because he's always going to have a solid fan base. I'm always going to like him, and I never thought he would have been somebody that I was like, yeah, I like this gimmick, but he kind of turned the corner on me with a lot of stuff. I think some of the matches with Pac, and some of the matches also that I've seen him work with, even though the Jericho one was a bit embarrassing for sometimes.
The Mimosa match, wherever that was.
I enjoyed that.
What are you talking about?
Dear Lord.
But I like him, and I also think the pairing with Danhausen too at certain points was fun.
Oh, I love Danhausen.
He's great.
I love that dude.
Honestly,
we need to get him on TV more. I mean, they've got these stars that they do use. I mean, you had Ruby Soho versus Willow and the Outcasts. I mean, man, give me some Danhausen.
I tell you not though, and I'll be quite honest. I wanted that match to go longer because Willow is really improving.
Willow's good. She's good in the ring.
Willow is really good. Yeah,
she's good in the ring.
And putting the ring with Ruby, it just didn't have long enough, and that's the problem. We're talking about, we've had Melina on, and we were saying about how women's wrestling is not being portrayed, or it needs a refresh, or does it just need more time on TV to get the talent over?
But that's again where it comes back to rejig Rampage. Even if you made it an hour and a half, maybe not 2 hours, I don't know, because the TV deals and it's recorded after Dynamite, but with all this pool of talent, and the women could get, because they've got some really good, Ruby Soho, Willow, and all them guys. They've got some good talent on AEW. But again, the TV time, the match was what, not even 10 minutes. The Outcasts come down. We all knew how that was going to end, Ciara, and yada yada yada, and that's how it finished. But Daniel, just briefly, where are you with the women's division? Because we mentioned this all the time on our podcast. We had Melina on. I don't know if you heard our last show. Melina was on with us, former WWE Divas champion, and she was kind of the same opinion. They got them to a point in women's wrestling where they had their own pay-per-views. They were main eventing WrestleMania. Now all of a sudden, and Melina made a great point. She's like, right, wrestling companies seem to be like, we've done that now. And it's not putting them back to where they used to be, but it's kind of like, we've highlighted you and now we've leveled out a little bit. Where are you with the women's scene right now, especially in AEW? Because they do have some good talent there. I don't know. It just seems to be missing something.
I think what kind of, and I hate to sound sometimes sexist, and this is not a sexist comment that I'm making. It's just one of those things of where I look at the WNBA and I look at the general public just doesn't support the WNBA for some reason. And they also, there's so many negative comments that I see in general in pro wrestling on social media, but especially towards the women in general, is really just kind of disgusting, where it kind of makes me not want to be a wrestling fan, because it's just like, have we really gotten to this level? Because there's so much great women talent out there. And I hate for them not being able to get support from either social media or support from a general wrestling audience that seems that, it's like this old school mentality that I just don't understand, of just like they would rather still watch the men than the women. But in my opinion, I feel like the women are just as good as the men, if not even better. Like Bianca Belair in WWE last year was the best wrestler, I thought, in general in pro wrestling, just because the fact of that, she was there every week. She had a really good win-loss record, and the fact that she improved immensely. Like, she has gotten better and better every time she's gone out there and performed. And so that's where kind of, it's hard, because it's like, I want to be able to see women's wrestling do better. I think AEW's women's division's a lot better than where it was. I think at certain points they've been really lulled. They really didn't have the talent. But I think right now, Jamie Hayter especially is fantastic. Yeah. Like, she is really turning it, coming into. I really like Britt Baker now, and I really didn't like Britt Baker at one point. I think Saraya is, there's something lacking there. Like, because I felt like when she came in, she would be able to have an impact, because I think she's an excellent talker. I knew getting in the ring for her there was going to be a transition. She was going to need some time to really get, her feet under her again. But I felt like that her presentation, there's just something missing.
Daniel, do you think it may be the fact that she just not, I know it sounds harsh, but maybe not interested?
Just doing it for a check, maybe.
She wants to be in WWE. They will clear her. She comes to AEW
because they cleared her.
They cleared her.
Yeah.
She doesn't look healthy. She doesn't look fully healthy to me.
No, there's just something there where I'm just like, and then two, they don't have, and I'm not making any accusations at all. So I'm going to say this allegedly, but she's had issues in the past, and WWE had a policy in place that would keep people safe and not be a harm to themselves. And I don't know if AEW has those same policies. They might now, because of certain events that have transpired in the last year or so, but I don't know if, and again, I'm trying to be vague because it is a sensitive issue. But it's, it's one of those deals of where, you do kind of wonder sometimes if she's healthy. And that's the way I'll put it. You're right. I think
you're right. I mean, it is, again, they've got some great talent in the women. I think women's wrestling all over the board. They've got some talent. I just don't think it's being booked right now. Something that we do hope is going to be booked right now. Munzie, I know he's your guy. Adam Cole is back in AEW. He was in the main event of AEW Dynamite. What do you see the future for Adam Cole? He obviously beat Garcia at the weekend. Chris Jericho come out at the end. There was ticker tape. It wasn't like the end of a pay-per-view. I mean, he's obviously his girlfriend come out and it was good. Hey, look, I said this last week to Adam. Anytime I get to see Adam Cole wrestle, I'm all for it. I love the guy. I think, he carried NXT for me when he was in it. He was NXT. Again, like Daniel said earlier, he could be the future face of AEW. You need to get him healthy. You need to keep him healthy. Munzie, what do you think the future holds for AEW with a healthy Adam Cole back in the mix?
I think they need to turn him heel. He's better heel than he is face. They don't, when he was in Undisputed Era for NXT, he was just brilliant. You know what I mean? As you said, he did carry NXT. But yeah, and as I said, every time someone says Adam Cole, you just want to say baby, don't you? All the time. But yeah, I'm glad he's back. I've seen him since he was a Ring of Honor all the way up. Do you know what I mean? Whether they're going to turn him and he's going to go back to with the Young Bucks, you don't know. He might be fighting Kenny. You never know. He might fight. That'd be a brilliant match, him fighting Kenny. I don't actually think he's fought Kenny for a while. I think he has fought him, but yeah. I didn't get why it was Daniel Garcia. It might have been better if he was against Jericho. They're trying to lead up to that. But I didn't get why it was Daniel Garcia. It was a good match, don't get me wrong, but I didn't see why it was Daniel Garcia. I think there could have been better opponents for him for his first match back.
I think it's like what Daniel said earlier. Tony Khan's just like, well, yeah, I want to see
this.
Adam, what did you make? What did you make of the AEW main event Dynamite? Adam Cole versus Garcia?
I thought it was great. We have to be careful with Adam Cole. You can't put him in there with a Darby Allin or
I don't think about anyone in with Darby Allin, can you?
Just because, as I said before, we have to.
You could pick Mick Foley in with Darby Allin and he would be in trouble.
But the bottom line is Darby Allin is just too quick with what he does, and I think sometimes you got to remember wrestling is a split second. You are a split second away from serious injury, as obviously Adam Cole knows. So I think Garcia was a good. It's building up for Jericho, which is again another safe worker to go in there with. So again, it makes Adam Cole, gives him a bit more time on TV, gets him back in with it, then goes in again, ring against someone safe like Jericho, which will be, and again that match will be great.
Yeah.
Then maybe somebody, I don't know, another safe worker.
Orange Cassidy slow.
Where does AEW rank with Adam Cole? Very highly. Keep him fit. Get him healthy, put him in the ring with the safe ones, build him up, and then see, because we don't know what's going to happen in 2024, right? MJF's contract's up. What the hell is he going to do? Is he going to go, whatever? And even if he doesn't, then Adam Cole's ready and waiting. Like you, I can sit here and watch Adam Cole all day.
Yeah, no, anytime I get to watch Adam Cole. Daniel, just finishing up, my friend, on the AEW show. What does the future hold for AEW, in your opinion? Like we said at the start of the show, they started off like a house on fire, which they were always going to do. Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, etc., etc., etc. Had a little dip. For me, it's still a solid promotion. They seem to be getting a lot of criticism now for whatever reason. In your opinion, what do AEW need to do to stay relevant, stay sustainable? Like you say, there's the UK market that they're hopefully going to be tapping into this summer. The TV deals need to be working out. You've got the whole Rampage being recorded after Dynamite. Daniel, if you were in charge of AEW, what would you do?
Well, the first thing I would do if I took over creative or something like that, I would hold an all talent meeting, and then I would pretty much look at everybody and just say, yeah, this isn't working out as far as this, you're going to be able to do whatever you want. We're not doing that anymore. Because there needs to be some reeling in. I think there's some talent that just takes liberties far too often. John Moxley does not have to bleed every single match.
Thank you.
He does not need to bleed every single match.
He plays on his promos as well, doesn't he?
It's not sustainable. Like it's just, you can't have every single match. It's like within 30 seconds, oh, he's bleeding again. And I think some of the stuff that Jericho has done, some of it has been decent, some of it's been really good, and then there's a lot of it that's just like, why did that even make it to air? And I think that's kind of where you need to kind of start reeling people in and saying, this is what we need to do. This is what needs to get done. This is what's going to be able to sustain us. I think that's kind of what CM Punk was trying to do a little bit with some of the younger talent, getting them ready. And then he crossed paths with certain people probably, and they didn't like it. And that kind of really hurt them. I think I would also have to address the CM Punk situation and just say, look, it's 50%. It's 50-50 as far as I'm concerned right now, because it's like there are things that there are things the boss didn't do that he should have done to address it.
Yep.
And then there's 50% of it that is complete, utter and disrespect towards your company from his standpoint. Like, that scrum was extremely detrimental to that company, because they were rolling. They were rolling.
They really were.
They had everything going for them. And then they started to lose a little ground when there was the creative shift in WWE.
Yeah.
And
Triple H, yeah.
Other things that were starting to happen. But they were still sustainable. And then the minute that happened, I feel like that was when people just started to notice of like, okay, what's really going on with this company now?
Daniel, where are you with the media scrums in general? Because for me, if you've just come out of a 20-30 minute match, or even any match, you beat up, you're probably pissed off, you're probably hurting. Do you honestly think that's the right thing WWE do it now, but is it even the right thing to even do straight after a pay-per-view?
It's unnecessary, because of the fact that, number one, it's like media scrums and regular sports should happen. Like, from a standpoint of, there are sometimes, though, like, because you need to hear sometimes from the player of like the winning team or something of that nature to give an explanation. I'm highly against it, though, in like fights of a guy who just got knocked out giving an interview, or just got tapped out giving an interview. And again, with wrestling, it's just, I don't find it necessary, because it's a predetermined industry. Like, you can give comments either on social media or give comments on Monday night or Friday night, whatever show you're on, to address it to a much bigger audience. The scrums, I feel like, are just sitting there. You're just like, they're almost like, for the promoters, like heaps of praise, because they can just go up there and talk about how great the money, and WWE does it too. I'm not just saying that about AEW. Like, our gate was this much. We've had more interaction than any other time. Like, it's just these sessions where they're just trying to,
blow smoke up their ass,
or dick measuring contests of just like how great my booking is and how great of a company we are. And it's just like, we know, especially with WWE, they're a publicly traded company. They have to file an SEC filing every quarter that shows you how much money they're making or not making.
Yeah.
So it's like, they don't need to sit there and just with these, like, Sunday night, it's going to be like, oh, you're watching the scrum? It's like, no, why do I need to?
I've been watching, especially WrestleMania. It's like, no, I've been watching this for the last 12 hours. I'm not going to watch anymore.
I'm going to sit there and watch. They broke 25 million at the gate. Great.
Yeah, give me half an hour of a scrum, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But Daniel, it's been great to have you on our show, my friend. Tell our listeners where they can find you, what you guys have got coming up at the Pro Wrestling World. I mean, I follow you on Facebook. It's a great follow. You put out some really, really cool content. Where can our listeners find the Pro Wrestling World? Where can they find you on all social media? And what have you got coming up, my friend?
Well, we record every week with Pro Wrestling World. We do a lot of interviews. But we do also a lot of course, just talk pro wrestling. Pro Wrestling Talks. You can find us, the Pro Wrestling World, on Facebook, also on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find Pro Wrestling World Talks, which is a podcast that I host with my co-host John Young, who will be on this program in the future. And he will, and he's great, tremendous. One of my favorite people on the planet. And you can find us, Pro Wrestling World Talks, on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify.
Right, Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you come on our show, my friend, and talk some AEW with us, my man. And we look forward to doing it with you again.
Yes, thank you very much, guys, for the invitation. It was a pleasure coming on.
No worries, Daniel. Take care, my man, and we'll catch you down the road.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
No worries.
Cheers.
No worries. Adam Munsey, it was brilliant to have Daniel on the show. Just wrapping up our end of the show. Munsey, you are now the Sports Carnage, right?
Carnage.
So it is Carnage, my friend. Just quickly, let's get the socials in there, mate. Where can we find the Sports Carnage?
So find us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. So it's at T Sports Carnage, all one word. You can find us on there. Usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all different sports, football, NFL.
Called
Huh?
Mun's Day, you should call it.
Mun's Day, yeah.
Why are you not calling it Mun's Day, man?
Yeah, Mun's Day, yeah.
But no, go and check out. And obviously, Munsey does it. He uploads all our YouTube stuff for us. Hitting the
For free, I don't get paid, but
come on, for the love of it. For the love of the
sport.
Throw you a free cup.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to get you one of these hoodies, mate.
Oh, quickly, Andy, I just need to plug a bit that we've got coming up.
Go for it.
Just got an email while I'm here. So any NWA fans out there? So me and you are pulling a night shift coming up on the 24th of April. We are interviewing NWA star Sal Rinauro, who's actually got a hair versus mask match coming up at NWA pay-per-view. That's coming up on the 24th, so we're going to be pulling a night shift for that one. So get your sleeping bag and tent ready. We've also today we brought another sponsor on, haven't we? Today
we have. We are sponsoring a young man called Matt Castle. He is trying to get into the PDC tour. He's very, very close to getting his tour card and being full time on the PDC tour. He's on the Challenge tour right now at the minute, but the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, we're sponsoring Matt. We're trying to give him a helping hand. He's going to be logoed up with the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast where he goes on the Challenge tour. He's going to be on the PDC TV. Obviously that was promoted on this show a couple of weeks ago. So we're proud to sponsor Matt. We're looking forward to working closely with him. He's going to have the Hitting the Turnbuckle everywhere.
Send that to him.
He's got his flights and his shirt and his everything. His shirt's going to be with the Hitting the Turnbuckle, and hopefully he's going to be making it onto the PDC tour. So Matt, big shout out to you, my man. We're wishing you all the luck in the world. I know a good friend of mine who I work with, Darren Battams. We're going to try and sort out meeting up with Matt, and then probably the end of next month we're going to go and meet up with him on a Friday and Saturday night and get some cool promo stuff taken for the Hitting the Turnbuckle. And we've got something else really cool coming up, and we're just in the next 24 hours, maybe Monday, we might be able to announce it. A wrestler that everyone knows. Everyone in the entire wrestling world is going to know. If you don't know, he's probably one of the best on-screen characters that I've seen in my history. He's a really cool dude. But Adam, it's WrestleMania weekend, Munsey WrestleMania weekend. It's going to be a busy week. Adam, I think we're back tomorrow with our SmackDown review show.
On Monday with Mr. Eric Rowan.
Monday, what have we got?
Mr. Eric Rowan joins us on Monday.
Eric Rowan with us on Monday. But make sure, obviously, it's all the socials are out there at HTT Buckle on Twitter, YouTube. Just type in Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, one word on YouTube. You can find us there. We're on Apple, Google Pod, Spotify. We're getting everywhere. We are at Jurassic
Pro Wrestling next week.
Jurassic Pro Wrestling next Sunday. Myself and Adam are going to be there. Obviously, we've got the stuff wrestling with wrestling. We've got the stuff with Ignite. Hopefully, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we can maybe announce something with them.
I think we should save it for the event.
We save it for the event.
Yes, you got to buy a ticket.
We're doing
too much AEW. We're giving too much away for free here.
Now, yeah, we've got something really cool happening with them. If you want to know what, come to Ignite and check it out. CJ Carter, myself, and Adam have got something incredible that's going to happen on that day. But Munzi, keep up the good work on the Sports Carnage, my mate. Looking forward to your next show's dropping. We'll get you back on here to talk some more pro wrestling. Adam, I will catch you in about 13 hours, 14 hours, mate. We'll sit down and record a SmackDown review show. Obviously, there's Ring of Honor tonight, Rampages tonight,
Impact, and their
Impact, yeah.
well.
WrestleMania is this weekend, guys and girls. Soak it in. It's going to be some great stuff coming up. If you're a wrestling fan, this is the weekend for you. But Adam, Munzi, I will catch you soon, and we'll do this all again.
Cool.
Cheers,
Bye.
boys. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Hit in the Turnbuckle podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with my tag team partner, Mr. Adam Cousins, and the man himself, Mr. Munzi. Till next time, everybody, stay safe.